committee, and school committee, they could vote differently. They did vote that way this year currently, so no reason to think that that wouldn't happen again, but.
I did put a motion on the agenda for tonight that the actual motion is to support the use of unexpected state aid funding to reduce the assessments to member towns for FY26. Of course, you can't put a number in there yet because I don't know what the number is, but hopefully to show support of it before town meetings so it's understood what's happening.
Yeah, and I did say that I was kind of pushing to hopefully get something, in the school committee meetings before town meetings so that, we're not just going off of the word of saying, hey, there might be this money down the road in August. Hopefully we can get it and therefore we should support this. If we have, something in the school committee's meetings, even, again, we could end up not getting it because the state ends up changing their mind or whatever, but I think it's helpful to have that prior to the town meeting. So, with that, I think I'd like a reconsideration on the vote for us to recommend to the school budget. So I'll just make a motion to reconsider that recommendation, and we can talk about it after.
Second.
Okay, do we want to discuss this at all? Obviously, the total number we were originally talking about, of course, this was just the talk and the speculation, right? That I was thinking about was 1.6 million. This is obviously not even half that, so it's a big cut, as in not as much as I wanted, but it's something, and I think I need to recognize that, the goal was, for my perspective at least, was that the school put forward a little bit more. This is coming from the state, so it's, is the school really putting it forward? It's a hard argument to make, but at least it's going in the right direction. So I want to at least accept that this is a good direction and will help the town. Again, it's not anywhere near the 1.6 that was originally talked about, but that was 1.6 that I talked about. If the other towns all voted for it, it wouldn't matter anyway. All voted for the school budget as is, that 1.6 wouldn't matter. And as of right now, both Holden's FinCom and Select Board and Princeton's FinCom and Select Board both recommended the school budget as is. So obviously there's still 2 towns left, right? But may or may not. Sorry, the two other than us. So it may not matter. I'm just trying to kind of think about this in totality and say we got a piece of it. Take a small win instead of accepting a big loss, I think. This way we get a little bit of money back. The school still gets the budget that they asked for. It's a half win to what we were looking at and a full win to the school, so it's a good step.
But there's no guarantee that we're gonna get that.
Correct.
So our expectation tonight was that we would discuss the amendment to the, or at least it was mine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Discuss the amendment to the article. And how it would be presented, etc.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, that was one of the, that was one of the top, sure.
Yeah. So our intention would be to be able to present a value or a dollar amount that we think that the school budget should be at. We're recommending that the town not vote favorably for the school budget as it's been presented. But we would have an amendment that would provide a different number. And if the town voted for that, then it would be a negative or an unfavorable vote on the budget. And put them into a situation where they would take that information back and either accept it or talk about how they go ahead and use their budget.
Correct.
Only if more towns voted against
Right.
it.
Exactly.
If it's just us, they don't care.
And it doesn't matter, it's just that, it doesn't matter.
They do care, they just won't do anything.
Yeah.
They might still
So,
care.
so from the perspective of,
Really?
I don't know their feelings on it.
so from the perspective of approach,
He's saying we're not gonna make the amendment now.
okay, I heard that that Alex's motion is to reconsider our original,
Our original recommendation, correct.
which is to not recommend.
Not support.
Yep.
So, and the amount that we were gonna that we were going to propose as an amendment was going to be
Roughly 1.6 million total, which would equate to
three something for the town.
Did you say 350?
375, I think was the number.
Okay, so that would have been our
That would have been our savings.
savings,
Correct.
and it would have been our recommendation as to what, the school, because the town is not voting on the full 17, whatever the numbers. I guess I understand I don't understand. I like to think that I understand the mechanisms of making all these things come through Congress and getting them all done. It goes to the governor's desk and then it gets passed down and something happens along the way. But it would be good for us, I think, if we were looking at a net to the town of 370,000. And now this might be 125, that we might make the same amendment net of these two activities. So if it's 350 and we're going to get, I'm gonna round the number up, 150, then we're looking at $200 to do, 200,000 would be the amendment.
So you're still suggesting we make the amendment?
I'm suggesting, as a matter of discussion,
Yep.
that we still make the amendment and we stay with their vote. I'm suggesting we stay with their vote and that we make the amendment for a number that would recognize what the state and schools are doing, and we propose a small number.
Why would we wanna send the budget process in a real bad way if they vote? I don't know. At this point, who cares?
Well, so we're facing, next year is going to be hard.
You know what? Next year's gonna be bad. We
Yeah.
all know that at this table, and you know what?
The
Might
snowball's
as well-
already rolling, so.
Yeah,
Well, we
might
know
as well
this year
burn
was
it
gonna be
down.
bad last year.
Darren says burn it down. Who cares this year?
Okay.
Well, I see what happens next year.
No, I think, I agree with you. I think that every dollar counts.
Right. And
We're trying to make this thing come out right.
Ted, do you?
So I read that letter from Desi twice. I could probably read it 2 more times and have no more clarity than I have already, but
Oh, good enough.
I believe
It's like the IRS.
let's just hypothetically say that a motion is made. We reduce the budget, it gets passed. It's gotta happen in another town. And then it goes back to the school committee, and basically that reduced amount is just a recommendation to them. They could come back, and I've heard someone else use it, and I forget who it was, but in past years, they could just vote $1 less and send it back. They would have all, and I see Sherry shaking, I'm correct in that,
That's
right?
correct.
So it would be sort of a signal that, yes, the towns are struggling to afford it. We know that we're struggling to afford it. There's a part of me that thinks we get a message, that whatever reduced amount that may come via the state, and the blessing of the school committee is a positive sign. I guess I'd have to think long and hard about whether or not continuing with the thought that we had is in anybody's best interest.
Well, they've given us money back before when they've,
Yeah, this year.
yeah.
The
So-
past
and it's
administrations
done it a
tended
couple
not to
times.
do that.
That is correct.
It happened last year too, I believe. I forget, but, yeah, okay.
I just don't know what, you know, we're putting it in a big, this giant tailspin. I understand that everybody, it's, we gotta save as much money as we can, but, I
Well,
mean,
for me, it's not as much money necessarily, it's the message that it's sent.
they know the message, don't people?
No, they don't, well, they do. They know that they feel, people that I talk to anyway, feel that they're paying more than they should have to in taxes. And next year, we're gonna go for an override, and
A big one.
the year after that, we're gonna tell them next year, during next year, that they're gonna override this time, an override next time, an override after that, and an override after that, that's probably gonna be $8 million.
So, alright, so.
I'm just saying that,
Yeah, no.
that there's a message that we want, I think we wanna be able to say, that we're trying to work to control this.
So I understand that, but we're also saying in the same words that we have savings and we're not gonna use it because it's probably not the best thing for us to do, but I'm not gonna use my savings, but I'm gonna do all this to the town when I still have savings.
I think but we're using savings.
Yeah, but we can use it all. We can keep going and just make this, what, for the paltry amount that we're talking here, what are we gonna gain? We're gonna put the meeting in this, I don't know.
100,000 isn't paltry, 150,000.
No, but I mean, Lynn, in the big scheme of things next year, what's
Relatively
a hundred,
speaking.
what's,
Relatively speaking.
it's not paltry, it's the wrong word, but next year, $100,000 it's gonna be a mess anyways.
Well, and they're gonna, I mean, even if we were to cut it from this year, 150,000, 200,000, whatever that number is, it's not like the school isn't gonna look for that increase next year, so it'll be, the deficit will still be the same next year, we just have temporary reprieve for 1 year.
Well, so I think in the forecast, the 5-year forecast of spending, I think we see the school budget's going up 10% a year over the prior year.
Yeah,
So it's,
conservatively.
well, it's escalating,
10% a year.
yeah.
If that's conservative, that's even worse.
Well, it's a combination of the minimum local plus the discretionary increase.
Okay, but that's not the school budget.
Correct, well,
Well,
it's the
just
amount
to
we
be
pay
clear.
to the school.
Right.
Right.
So our share of the
It's
school
the Wachusett
budget.
Regional
The
School
assessment.
District assessment.
The
Yeah.
assessment and the budget are two different things, right?
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
But to the townspeople,
it's the same thing.
it's
it's
the
all
it's the
done.
one thing that they say.
I completely
You know.
understand that, I'm a
Yeah.
townsperson.
Sure.
I get it, I'm just saying, like, when we're speaking and we do understand,
Yeah.
we need to use the right language, because it's important, because, like you said, you wanna send a message, there is not a lot to cut left at the school, there's really not, like, we do need that state money, you wanna send a message to the state.
Well, and
You
so
know,
that's
I
really.
went and spoke at the Ways and Means Committee, like, we're trying,
Right.
but there's
And-
nothing left to cut.
And I think that that's the real answer, but I wouldn't want to minimize our voice around what that conversation should be with the state.
But
You
your
know.
voice at town meeting, cutting that budget, all it's doing is sending a no vote to the district, it's not saying anything to the state.
Well, see, I don't know, maybe it's not. I would think that if you get enough people in these towns saying, no, I don't agree with any of this, it'll end up going back into it's gotta go back to their representatives. I mean, I gotta believe that the House is coming out and they're talking to their constituents. And those constituents, from what I understand, are saying, we've had enough. You know, that this is, so it's a matter, I'm gonna step off this in a second. It's a matter of establishing a communication through the town, through the school, through the state, eventually.
I agree with that.
I don't know that it's the right way to do it, but I think it's just.
Because the no vote's gonna go to the district, and the district's, within, I don't know, 10 minutes, whatever, the State Department of Education is gonna know about it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna go backwards
Yeah.
that way.
I
And the
hate to
town-
say it, but I disagree with you all. After 6 years, I disagree.
Okay,
It does not work that way.
so.
Does
so
not work
why-
what way?
then why-
Did they hear the message?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, what, because my observation, having done this, is we recommend against the school budget. And what we're really recommending is against the school budget at that figure. But instantly, everyone at town meeting and everyone that then they tell who's not at town meeting, it's the finance committee's against education. No, we're not against education. We're against it at that particular figure. We need to trim it a little bit in order to be able to provide all the other services, but the message is, we're anti-education. And as much as we've tried to massage that, smooth that over, fix that, that message doesn't get. I mean, Pete, you and I, and maybe Tom, somebody else, we've sat in that room, we've sat up there with
Yeah.
Kim Ferguson and with Ann Goby, and they've never been able to do anything, and I'm pretty sure they don't just tell us to our face, we agree with you, and then go and do something else, but they might have, I don't know, but, yeah, the message doesn't clearly get communicated as to exactly what it is.
So what do you leave in your, errors and omissions or free cash, whatever you wanna call it?
Excess and efficiency.
That's it. What do you want? What are you guys gonna end up the year with, from this year's free cash?
I have no idea.
Okay.
So we're gonna.
Is it, do you think it's more than $170,000?
Probably not.
How much are you using to balance the budget with your free cash this year?
500,000.
See, my concern would be that.
We're spending $200,000 more than that to not even fund everything fully.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole thing. I think that's where I'm 100% with you. We have to get the word out that, hey, guys, you gotta kind of pitch in. The pain has to be felt amongst everyone.
I do agree with that, and I don't disagree, but I also think that we need to recognize that the school has, E&D is their only
Safety net.
safety net.
Mhm.
We do have free cash, stabilization, and, I'm missing something?
Capital stabilization. And regular stabilization.
But you can't use capital stabilization to balance the budget.
I understand.
No, but we could use it if something breaks.
Sure.
So the school, that, for the school, and don't get me wrong, to me, that's poor planning, right?
Mhm.
I won't say that that's go school, that's all you have, but, it is what it is at this point, like, I can't say poor planning for the last 10 years, so you shouldn't, be able to fix something. So I do kind of sympathize a little bit to the point where, if that's all they have, on a $130 million budget, they have $2 million or whatever it is, at 1.6 after free cash or E&D usage for the year. If they have 1.6, whatever the number is, that's not a lot of money to fall back on for a $130 million budget.
I agree.
So we're gonna get, and not that this matters because we've been beat up a bunch of years, the selectmen are already in favor of this. There's gonna be a bunch of people from the school there,
Mhm.
and we're gonna be that people that stand up and say no. So we're gonna take the beating again, is what you said.
What I'm saying is not that we're saying no, that we're recommending that the town say no. No, I understand what you're saying, you're right, I mean, it's us talking in essence for the town.
Right, yeah.
But,
But-
I
And the
just,
selectmen aren't gonna support us, they're gonna say, no, we think it's a good idea.
well,
So
so,
we're gonna be up there again, in front of everybody, if that's what we wanna do. I mean, I'll support the group wherever way we wanna go, but
and I will too.
it's just,
I
But
think
what Ted said is correct. We're not against education, and we're not against doing what we think is correct for the town.
well,
We just can't do it at that level constantly.
I agree with you, Tommy, but
And-
that's not how it's gonna be portrayed on.
I don't care, I'm not saying, I don't care what you're saying right now, because it's our job to review this budget
Right.
and present it to the taxpayers as we feel they can afford and what they should be looking at. If the townspeople wanna override, if we say unfavorable and they wanna vote for it, that's their prerogative and they can do it.
And it's not like we're just saying no, we'd be saying
Correct.
no with an explanation behind it.
So Sherry, just before you leave, this DESI, I was told, and I believe this is the way that it's being told to me, whether it's correct or not, again, we all read this, I can't tell that. We have to present and allow the town to vote on the budget as is. So, that's my, and that's what so Sterling did not do that, right? Sterling last year, it went to that warrant article, they made an amendment before that was voted on, which according to this is not legal.
Yeah, but this is
That's
these
just
people
guidance.
writing it.
Yeah,
That's-
I don't,
That's just guidance, and coming from Desi, you think they're gonna worry about the towns, they're only worried about the education piece. Come on,
You gotta-
kinda like
you
the
gotta
rooster in the
give-
hen house, I'm just saying.
You gotta tell the townspeople what the full certified number was, or is, from the school the regional school district. But the only way you can change that, you've gotta make an amendment to reduce it, if that's
And
what
if
we're
our
talking about doing.
amendment was to get failed, then they would be indeed
Correct.
voting on
Correct.
the original motion.
So
We
I-
put it out in everything to be the original motion.
so I'm not sure that I really understand this. I'll be upfront with that, but this last, on the second page, the second
Second to
paragraph
last
down,
paragraph,
and it says that, you know, if the amendment doesn't pass, that the local appropriating authority, which would be the town meeting, should consider, consistent with town or city council town meeting procedures, consider a vote to appropriate an amount allowing the district to continue.
Right.
So, the question for me would be, do we feel that our suggested change would actually impact on $130 million, the job that the schools are already doing? They're doing a great job.
No, but I think I read that too, and I think that what that means is, if, let's just say we made that proposal, it passed, the thing passed at the reduced amount, or if it didn't pass at all,
Yeah.
then there would need to be a motion on the floor to recommend the amount of last year's number so they can go with the 1/12 budget until this gets resolved.
Or another
I
number,
agree.
Tommy. It could be another number. It could be a number.
Well, no, it should be what the budget is currently, because that's what we agreed to this
It
fiscal
could be
year.
any number, right?
Then they go with the 1/12 budget into the next year until it gets resolved.
Right, and if we say no, it could become technically a 1/12 budget. But if we say no and propose a number that might be higher than a 1/12 budget, then that would be okay.
I don't know if you'd wanna do it.
Yeah, that got talked about, I don't.
Right. The way this says, it just says you gotta have something for them to work on, because if you say no to the budget, then it's no, they got zero to start with July first.
If you're saying no to the budget, then you're saying to them, go figure out 1/12.
Well,
No,
no,
if
you
you say
still
no to
have
the
to-
budget, you have not approved the town to pay the assessment.
Correct.
Same thing, but it's,
Including MLC.
Right.
right, but it's the same thing. What you're really saying is we don't approve being charged our portion of that big budget.
No, but what this is saying is if
You gotta give
it
something.
fails, approve a 1/12 budget by the town so that you can at least pay the 1/12. On the floor, they're
But
saying.
we're not
right.
trying to, we're
I
not trying to,
get that.
we're not trying to do that.
I know.
And we've produced what they have asked for. Everyone has seen the $6.2 million discretionary. So if we're making an amendment for the 6.2 discretionary, it's not like we're hiding it from everybody, we're not
Correct,
doing
yeah.
it underhandedly. And that was what was said the last time that it got done. And I was there and I was like, okay, so that's why I made sure we didn't do that again this time.
May I just say a couple I really have to.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I truly think that if you wanna vote unfavorable, that's your prerogative. But I will please ask you not to put an amended number in there. It does not help anyone, it does not give any our legislators any idea that there's a problem here. It does not help because the other towns would have to have the exact same percentage number. Like, your number won't count for anything. There will need to be another vote no matter what. So
Okay.
if you wanna do unfavorable, then do that, but please don't present another number because it is not helpful at all. I will still present that motion tonight at school committee, but I will tell you that if you're amending this number on the floor without giving the town a chance to vote on the actual school number, then I feel like that is not something that's done in good faith like I'm presenting tonight. Completely separately on the capital stabilization thing, I'm also presenting a motion tonight asking them to support not having a line item for the capital stabilization fund for a minimum of 3 years, with the only possibility using excess and deficiency, and that's if it's available. So I don't know if that changes your mind on anything there, but that's what I'm gonna present. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I do
Thanks.
have to run.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other discussion on, we'll stick to what we're talking about, so there's a motion, right? So, any other discussion on the motion currently?
And the motion is to reconsider. the vote.
Reconsider, correct.
To leave it as is.
So we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't.
Well, this is even just a reconsider, right? Well, then we'd have to vote on recommending it after, I believe.
Right.
It's-
This is to reconsider what it was.
But that's all,
No, we already-
we've just been talking about it.
We already
We
recommended.
probably should have voted a
that
little
we
while
can
ago.
approve it. That the town
Yes,
doesn't vote.
we said to not recommend it,
Right.
so my motion was to reconsider that vote.
Right, and if we vote to reconsider that,
We'd have to open back up the recommendation,
and then we can.
then we vote on the recommendation.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
So the reconsider is just to reopen the vote.
See, it only took me 6 years to get
I'm making up as I go.
there. You did a hell of a job.
So we're going to be taking a vote very shortly. Yes?
Yes.
If the discussion is done, I wanna make sure that we fully discuss and everyone gets their opinion out.
Well, I got a question.
Yeah,
Well,
What is a yes vote on the reconciliation?
to reopen, so we will then take a vote on whether we want to recommend, not recommend, defer the, recommendation of the article for the school fund.
you're talking about Article 9 where we said
Right.
no,
Correct.
Right.
so meaning a negative
Unfavorable.
unfavorable
The
recommendation.
finance
Correct.
committee
So I'm asking,
recommended
my
That's all we're
motion
doing,
was to
we're not doing
reconsider.
anything else, Ted, at the moment.
And this vote is just to reconsider that
Correct.
vote, it's not
Right.
taking that vote or changing it, it's just to reconsider that vote.
You need a second, I'll second that.
Peter,
Peter already did.
I wanna make sure we get all the discussion out and,
No, no.
I mean, I think, I kind of agree with Darren, I think that, and to Sherry's point, if we put another number, they can just come back, so we're opening up a lot of potential, which, to be fair, I'm not against, because I think that, to your points, we do need every dollar we can get. If we do make these cuts, let's be honest, they'll be temporary, they're gonna come back for that same increase next year, plus whatever they would have asked for anyway.
Right.
So it's more or less a 1-year reprieve from this. So it helps, but it's not a huge gain. I think that whatever that number is, the 600 to 700K that they're already suggesting that we'll get back is a piece, again, in the right direction, so that's why I think that it's, we're getting something. It's not, the whole thing, but it's something,
We haven't voted on it, and it's not guaranteed from the state.
get it?
That's the thing.
Am I
And
gonna-
I disagree with her that by just putting not recommend, that's not gonna do it. We have to make a motion, we need to make a change. I don't care if it's by $3.
Yeah.
You gotta make a change to send the word back that, listen, guys, they have to take some on the chin as well. Because
And they're taking some, but not enough.
not enough,
Well,
cause we're
they're actually
taking
not
off.
taking any, really,
Well,
because they're getting the additional funding
Right.
for,
From
so
the
to be
state.
fair,
They're not,
they're not really getting hurt by this.
right,
Which is why I said originally that, we are getting a little bit of the piece of the pie back theoretically if it all works out that way. and they're getting the budget they asked for. So the school's winning 100%, the town is getting a piece of what, you know, a piece back theoretically, if this all goes through. So the town is not, or the school is not losing out on anything if this happens.
And if the school has another floor that collapses, then you use the money that comes back to fix the floor. Just the way it is.
Yeah, and theoretically, if they needed to fix the floor and they didn't have that money in E&D, they'd have to come to the towns to get the money anyway.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah.
That's how we got the turf field, just remember that.
Mm-hmm.
It was all paid with E&D when it all failed.
Yeah.
Alex?
Yes.
I just, if I could summarize what I think I'm hearing, and maybe that'll help some
Yeah, go
places.
for it.
I think by recommending not favorable, what this finance committee is saying is that you have done everything that you can to fix the town budget, or at least get it to a place that you've got it on paper, you can make a vote. You don't think, maybe as a finance committee, that the school has maybe done everything that they can. And because that piece is out of your hands, you're not comfortable that everything has been done. And I think if you look at it that way, maybe that's what I think I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's a pretty good
I
summarization.
think that, I would agree with that.
It's not that you don't agree with the school not getting money, and it's not necessarily that you're sending a message. It's that you think that there's room for the school to do a bit more.
And I think, to that point, I think the room that we're asking the school to make is not going to diminish the quality of education that Wachusett Regional School District provides. I really don't believe that.
Well, I think the administration would argue that it's already not doing very well, so
Of course, yeah.
they're basically saying, you know, anything less would be
So
would be diminishing.
do we feel that the Wachusett Regional School District is doing a bad job?
No.
No, absolutely not.
All right, so.
Well, that's my opinion.
No, I understand that, but given that that's the opinion, and assuming that there's more people that have that same opinion, they don't have the same amount of money next year as they have this year, and we're saying this year, we feel that they're doing a pretty good job with the education. So it's, I mean, this is like a sort of,
I
you
think
know.
a lot of people in town would argue that they're not doing a good job.
Well,
I don't personally
Okay.
know, right? So I don't have any, I'm not inclined in it, I don't know.
Okay,
But I have heard from many people that they're not up to snuff, that people are sending their kids to private school on an increasing basis because they don't feel as though the Wachusett school system is adequate.
so what that would mean is that there should be people out there that want to ensure that Wachusett Regional School District is doing a better job,
Yeah,
and they be willing to vote for an override. I mean, that's,
That's what it comes to.
That's
They're gonna
really
be
what
willing to
we're-
pay for it.
right,
part of the hold harmless conversation is that there's more people sending their kids to private school, and therefore that's why you're seeing the enrollment decrease in the Wachusett Regional School District, which is why, part of why
Right,
they've
right.
entered a hold harmless. Whether that's all of it, whether that's even happening, I don't know.
80% of the state is in that whole harmless thing.
Sure,
Okay, so with that, what I wanted to add with that same thing you just said, that's, they voted now to start, to open Wachusett up, or the Wachusett district up to, school choice, because there's people that wanna send their kids to Wachusett. So, I mean, you got those arguments both ways.
yeah, you do. I mean, so it's contradictory.
So I understand what you're saying, but there's a lot of people out there, families, whatever you want, however you wanna do it, that are saying, look, we wanna send, cause they're anticipating getting people to fill these slots that they've opened up now.
Yeah,
As he told us, well, I've heard it in 3 different meetings now from the superintendent, that this would bring money into them to help
so I mean.
add to the budget.
Opening school choice again?
Yeah,
Correct, they voted to do
did,
that.
yeah. I mean, you could argue though that Wachusett might be better than some of the surrounding towns, but it's not as good as what it should be, or what it was in the past. I mean,
So I wouldn't make
I-
that
again,
argument
I don't
myself,
know.
but- Well, I
You
know,
can
and I
make the
wouldn't
same
make that.
argument that the town services once upon a time were so much better
There
than
you
the
go.
town services are now,
Yep.
yeah,
because of
Because they
budget
were.
cuts. I mean, you can do both sides. I mean, the fact is, I think we have to, in my opinion, we have to send it back saying, hey, you guys gotta help us bear a little bit of it. I'm not saying huge, I'm not saying decimate them, but we're already hurting so many of our people. We have people that aren't getting their raises.
Yeah.
We're, you know, there's a lot of that, and we're not getting everything. So I think we kind of have to share that. It can't be all for one and none for anybody else.
I mean, like the plan.
Well, no, it's not just that one employee, but it's other people that aren't getting their contractual raises because they're taking the cut. They themselves are taking it on the chin, and what was said tonight, they're not taking it on the chin.
Yeah, is
They're
anyone in
just
the
passing
school
it
not
through.
getting their raises? They're all
No,
getting
they're all
theirs.
getting them.
Well, they're getting the
And there's
the
new
union
positions,
contracted
and there's
ones.
all of that.
But I don't think, I would guess that almost nobody at the schools is non-union, I would guess, except for
We have
probably-
contractual people that are not getting their raises because they were asked to give it up
Yeah,
due to the
They're
fact
not-
that we
they're
could
not
not
unions.
make ends
They're
meet.
not union guys.
yeah.
But they still have a contract. So in theory, whether it's a part of a bargaining unit or not, the fact is we signed something that said we
Yeah.
give you this, and we've asked them to take it on the chin.
Yeah, which I think,
Yeah, those are singular contracts, it's,
Sure,
that's the only thing.
but
that's
still,
different.
but the thing is that it's still,
But there are people that we talk, well, we're going on this trail, but.
well, no, I mean, I think that the finance committee has said quite often in the meeting last week or the week before, when we voted on the warrant articles, that we think that we should use free cash to make those whole. And that, you know,
That fell on deaf
that
ears.
fell. So it didn't fall deaf ears, it didn't
No,
get-
it was on deaf ears.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, we as I think
I
They
think,
didn't accept our recommendation,
Yeah.
how's that?
we actually made an official recommend, we made a motion for that, right?
we
Yes,
made a
did.
motion,
Yeah.
we wrote a letter,
I-
not funding everybody, we asked to fund the planner.
Well,
And
but then we
the
talked,
town
we
administrator.
later talked about adding back in
That
everyone's
was
raises.
not ever a motion.
It was
made
not a
on it.
motion?
No.
I thought I made a motion at that point.
No.
We can do
No.
that.
Yeah, that's fine, oh, that's right, I said that, I said we should just make a motion on the floor
But
to add that.
In the
That's
end,
right.
they chose not to do that. I'm sorry, but if the finance committee honestly feels that this is the best thing for the town, then that's fine. I will not stand with you, because I will stand up and go, well, guys, do you want to have what we don't have enough for town services? And that benefits every member of the town.
Right. I guess my only concern would be, if we had had those, no, I'm putting on tapes, but if we had had those informational meetings, we could have been laying all this out to the town, and I would feel much better about going and saying, because it's school, I would recommend this, but we haven't done that.
informational meetings going on?
No, they
No.
got canceled.
Cancel.
I was told today they just had one over at the council on aging.
They
They
did.
have-
did.
they
And
have
they got another
yeah.
one coming up.
Correct, on May 4th.
Cause some people came in
I
and
heard
said
it was
to us-
really bad, but
Some people came
Oh,
in,
Bad in which
Oh.
way?
that there was,
it was just a Q&A session,
Yeah.
there was no presentation about the status of things.
they, actually, the question came up, why wasn't there a override, right? Is that
that
one
did
of
get
the?
brought up, yes.
Well, the select board explained all those things, what was going on.
Yeah, it doesn't make it any better though. I mean, it
No,
was.
it did, I'm just
yeah.
saying, I'm answering, they said
Yeah.
there was questions.
There was no
They answered those.
presentation, I mean, there definitely should have been some sort of although, you know, do people listen to presentations, that's to be argued.
No, but if you're putting it out there, you're putting information out
Right,
there.
but what kind of presentation? The information was presented by the select board chair.
Yeah, but when we did our information sessions to push the override last time, we had a presentation. It was up on the town website so people could
Okay,
look
I
at
don't,
it and
okay, I
ask
don't
questions.
disagree with you, but I'm saying, if somebody says there was no presentation, that's not true, because there was a discussion, and she went down everything in pretty much detail.
Well, I'm not blaming her either.
No, I'm not
saying-
blaming
yeah,
anybody,
yeah.
I don't even wanna say that, I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm just saying, the information was put out there. And then there was a lot of discussion, and there was some really good questions, and And as I said at that meeting, some of those questions that were asked were the same ones I've asked here at our meeting of the town administrator, et cetera, about giving us more detailed information, and that's what some of the things they were looking for.
And so, yeah. It was not a bad conversation.
No.
There could have been a initial, here's where things are, here's the problems, here's the good things, but other
Well,
than that.
that conversation would have been, here's where we are, here's where we're going.
Well, it also would have been beneficial to start gearing up towards next year too.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is, we're past that point. I
Okay, so you said May 5th is another meeting?
think it's May 4th.
I didn't say any date, I
I
just
just-
said there is another one.
It's Sunday.
It got brought up during that meeting that there was another one, I believe May 4th, I could be wrong about that, please check the date.
May 4th is a Sunday, right?
It's Sunday one day.
It's
They at
Sunday.
the senior
I
center?
was right, no, it's here in
It's
the
here in the
library.
library.
And we haven't been asked to go to that either? We weren't asked to go to the other one?
Nope.
Correct. I have requested or asked why, and I
So they're setting us up nice for the town meeting. You're gonna be the bad guy again.
Well, we can say, their budget, they did it, because they did.
But
We've
we
had
need,
very little
we need
insight.
to approve this and recommend and present it at town meeting, that's what it's supposed to do. That's what, yes, they did the budget, but they gave it to us to review, and we're supposed to present it at town. It's
With
in
no
the
time.
article, but technically, we're supposed to present
a
it.
presentation, we're supposed to make a
The recommendation.
recommendation, so.
But in that recommendation, we're presenting it to the town meeting.
Alright, so we do have a motion, so let's stick to that so we can get that off the table. Is there any further conversation on this? We can take a vote. Okay,
Just-
so
this
on
is
the
just a
motion to
revisit.
reconsider the, motion to recommend, so we have to open
On
up a whole
Article
new-
9.
Yep, so we have to open up a whole nother, motion to do anything else, so that this doesn't change anything, just opens up the reconsideration. So, all those in favor of reconsidering the motion on Article 9, all those-
Aye.
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 Nay?
Any other opposed? One, okay.
You can still
So,
vote no again. if you
Right.
want.
Right, that's exactly it.
Right.
it's just a
Another
motion to
conversation
reconsider.
here.
I just didn't wanna be here for 3 hours if us would get away from it, yeah.
So, I
There's some
mean-
other stuff going on over across the hall that I kinda wanted to be part of.
Okay. So I guess I'll make the motion to recommend favorable action on Article 9. Recommend, to recommend.
Yeah, it's not favorable action anymore,
Yeah,
he's
it's
changed
still
it.
recommended.
He
I
changed
recommend, or I make a motion to recommend Article 9.
Second.
Okay, and again, discussion.
At the original levels?
Correct.
So the question is still the same.
Yep, it doesn't change anything.
Or do we feel that with this article, I mean, Darren's point before was, you know, hey, what the hell? We go ahead and we vote yes or no to this, doesn't mean anything. If the other towns vote yes and we vote no, or the town votes no, then it's just gonna be,
Well, I
It's
think
done.
that's the job of the finance committee, to take the hard, we have to make the hard vote, or the hard stand, so however we wanna say it, we have to, you know, do the thing. It may not go the way we want, but
We can't afford it, but then again, we've never been able to afford it.
so,
And the free cash that we would have from this could go to, I mean, when the capital, whichever one it was here, the capital expense one, they can only do so much with the numbers that they recommended us to use, or the town administrator recommended to use. I mean, this certainly could, they said they had a whole nother list of needs that really needed
be done, yeah,
to be done.
yeah,
And that's what we should be using the free cash for.
yeah.
Which is the same lecture we got for the last, how long was the town administrator's been changed in the last 8 or 9 years? I mean, that was our first rodeo each time.
One-time expenses are bad.
Point of clarification, or I'm asking actually, on the town floor, in order to amend this article, can we amend it as a finance committee, or do I have to amend it myself? Like, is that a thing I have to do as a citizen, or can I do it as a chair the
You
finance.
just do it as you, you're on the finance committee, you're a resident in the town meeting.
No, I
but
understand
he's
that, I'm
asking-
saying, cause I believe, like, I'm saying this is my opinion, that I'm the one who's making the recommendation that we recommend it, you know what I mean?
If we vote that,
Right.
Correct. So
Right.
can I, if we as a committee decide that we do not wanna recommend it and we wanna put forward a different number, can I make that amendment as chair of the finance committee as opposed to citizen?
Well, my suspicion would be
why not?
that you'd have to take, if you're representing, and correct, but if you're representing the finance committee,
I
you
was really
have,
looking forward to
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, my opinion is, if we're making a motion to amend it, we agree as a finance committee, then we can make it from the finance committee. Otherwise, someone gets up out of their chair and walks around and talks from the
Okay, but
microphone.
So to your
If the-
point, I
if they
can make
do-
it from the
Well,
point of the finance.
As long
committee.
as the finance committee has
Agreed.
agreed.
Yep.
so
That's-
if we're going to make that amendment, we take a vote here.
Yep, and that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
I'm just asking for
Yeah.
clarification.
Because when you are speaking from the chair, Tommy, you're speaking as if you are a finance committee
No,
member.
I'm speaking I'm speaking at town meeting as a citizen.
Well, if
And I
you,
would clarify what I'm saying, whether it's my opinion only,
That's
or
okay.
if the
I disagree.
finance committee voted on something and that's what's
I
being
disagree,
presented.
I think you get up and you go walk
Well,
and
you
talk.
think that, I'm just saying.
Yep,
I'm a citizen like everybody else is at the town meeting.
So here's a
It's
question
just one
then.
conversation.
Tom Citizen gets up, makes a motion to recommend. It gets seconded. Does the finance committee then get asked for a favorable, unfavorable recommendation on it?
on what? Article
On
9?
On the motion?
On the amendment.
I would say
Let's
that,
amend.
because if we voted on it here, then you gotta tell the townspeople that.
No,
this
let's
is-
say we didn't vote on it.
Well, then you can't say that.
Well, so if we're going to make a motion to amend, our vote, I would think, as a matter of approval of the amendment.
Right,
would
but
say
what
that
I'm
we're-
saying is if Joe Citizen gets up, let's pretend it's somebody not from the finance committee.
Right.
If they get up and they make a motion to recommend a new number, will we be then asked
no.
our thought on
I don't
that
think
new
we could,
number?
because
Yeah.
we'd have to take a vote on it, and we'd have to discuss
Because
it.
we
and
don't
could
have
be
any
all night,
information on it, it's
Right.
just the warrant
Yeah.
article.
No, I
Okay.
think we, I
Yes,
think they could.
We don't have any information, number one, and number two, we didn't vote on it.
I think the difference is though, if we as the finance committee vote in favor of recommending a new number tonight, Alice could do it as the finance committee.
Even if he's not in favor of it, he could do it
Correct.
from the
Right.
finance.
Well, because I'm doing it,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm
Right.
doing it for the,
Right,
yeah,
as
but
long
if
as
we-
we pass it as a
yeah.
We're
finance.
representing the
Right.
finance.
Yeah,
committee.
I'm
but
just
if he
making
wanted
sure.
to speak on it, he could say, in my.
Sure, I could,
Well,
I'm not,
could just,
yeah, I get you.
he could just
I
say, this
just
is
wanted to
my
make sure that-
opinion and not that of the finance, whatever, how you'd have to say it correctly.
Yeah.
Understood.
So one of my thoughts is that, we've been roasted over an open fire before for being anti-education because we've recommended against something. If we recommend against this number, but we have another number and we can justify that, to me, that should be heard differently. It may or may not be. We just had our school committee rep who came to the meeting tell us, please don't come with another number. And it wasn't entirely clear to me why she said that.
She's
But
just
we
saying
are,
'cause it doesn't
we are
matter.
now saying we wanna do exactly what she told us not to do. Right?
I mean, to be honest, that's our prerogative, it's up to us to make the best decision.
But
we think.
I'm just sort of
Yes,
wondering,
it
why did
goes
she say
against-
that, and is it
Well-
good advice or not? I don't know.
Well, I would say to that, if I could speak just for a second, if we recommend against the number and we recommend an,
And we amend the
Why
article
would
to
we even
another
need a number, Tommy?
right.
Why would we even
would
need a number?
recommend again and say, look, we say don't vote for this, then you would, obviously the moderator should then ask for the person making the motion, it would be explained, blah, blah, blah. And we think the number could be less, it doesn't have to be part of the motion. Number.
No, the number would have to be part of the motion. Because you'd have to say, well, I guess if you're amending the
We
the
can
school
vote
assessment.
favorably in recommending this
If
Right,
you're
so
amending,
if
well,
we-
I would think if you're amending a lower number, yeah, if you knew the number, then recommend it to the lower number, but it should be explained, it should be explained clearly to everybody there what's going on.
The idea behind using a number was one of two things. One was if all 5 towns gave the same number, it would give the school committee could then go back and say, fine, we're good with this number, and then they have an approved budget. Is what the theoretical, whether that's legal or not, I have no freaking clue, but it was the idea, so.
And you've gotten word that that's not gonna happen.
At least by all 5, correct.
So 2 towns. we
But
can
if
do what you guys
theoretically,
decide.
if 3 towns do 5%, cap at discretionary 5%, and the other towns do 7, accept it at 7, then the school committee could theoretically still approve it at 5% because the 7 is higher anyway. So I guess it really wouldn't matter. Let's be honest, they won't do that. They're gonna come back with their own number anyway, whether it's $1 less or whatever the number is. The other idea, or the other point of the 5% was to say, here's a starting point for the school committee, this is what we're willing to do, and if they wanna then go back and say, well, at least they're willing to do this, what if we added these 5, or whatever, so at least gives representation of a starting point for school committee to go back to.
Okay, so then if we decide to not recommend, we still, and the school committee's gonna come back with a revised budget, no matter what, if the towns don't pass. Then we still have to go to another town meeting, which is gonna incur another expense, so we're shooting ourselves in the foot and.
I mean, it's minimal expense, like I believe, what does the town meeting cost, it's like $65,000 or.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's worth thinking about, but if we're talking about decreasing by 160,000, what's
Right.
5,000?
Right.
If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it, so you may need another meeting, but
I think if we want to make any kind of statement to the people, and I know everyone's so afraid of getting roasted over the coals, here's the thing. By saying not recommend and then we just walk away, then we should be roasted because we're not saying why. So here's the thing, come back and say, here's why, and here's what we think it should be.
right.
And we're sending a message, and yep, they might not like it, we might not win, but at least we've given it our honest, and here guys, this is what we think. Because I honestly don't think any one of us can think that this is good for the overall budget of the town.
And we're taking the
Absolutely
stand.
not. But does it, let's vote however we wanna vote and put a number to it, and we'll see what happens at the town meeting.
Exactly.
So there was Lynn, I don't know if you remember, didn't we draft an amendment? Or did we?
No, we just talked, no.
To cap it, what would
Cap
Yeah,
it
we
at
capped it at
5%.
5%, discretionary at 5%.
5% increase over last
So
year?
Yes,
that would not be the amendment?
I think we'd have to come up with an exact wording of the amendment, we'd have
Okay.
to come up with the exact dollars, but, I mean, we could certainly
It's
do
always
that.
better to do a dollar amount.
Yeah.
So the way this is gonna procedure is,
Doorbell?
I'm gonna do our bell.
the procedure is we're gonna vote to not if we vote to not recommend this, then what are we doing immediately? We're gonna stand up, someone's gonna stand up from this group, Alex, and say, we recommend no more than 5%, which is $160,000 less in
I'd
that
make a motion to amend the amount of
by
the
160.
school assessment, I would just make an assessment adjustment in
Discretionary.
total.
In total,
Well, yeah, I would do, to discretionary of
I don't know.
whatever that number is.
So in reading this, I don't know that it's saying that you can switch among counts here. It said,
You can't, you have to hit discretionary because that's the only one you're allowed to touch.
yeah, but the point is that if you don't agree to the total, if they do accept the change, it'll go to discretionary.
Yeah.
But they're saying that you can't, I thought I read someplace in here where they said that you can't go in and place restrictions on such appropriations.
So I would just do it on a total,
Well,
Yeah.
no, okay, I'm just gonna I would say you've gotta say it on this line item, discretionary, because the motion, as they've got it written, it says defray the necessary expenses of our choose to read. It doesn't say, and it's showing these, but you'd have to use that one, because local
We'll
contribution.
we'll have to get the correct language and the correct way to do it from, legal and or town administration.
So this says
I don't
that
wanna
that's-
fight about.
No, I'm just saying, you just
Yeah.
right.
This guy says the Mass General Laws, Chapter 71, Section 34, requires that in acting on appropriations for educational cost, the city or town appropriating body shall vote on the entire amount of the appropriation requested and shall not allocate appropriations between accounts, among accounts. And I'm looking at the discretionary spending as an account.
Sure.
So, it says that you can't do that, you can't go in and,
We've done it for years.
okay.
I think that's just guidance, that's not legal law, it's just guidance, and of course, it's the school telling us what the school wants us to do.
Well, it says it's
And
the
you
Massachusetts General
you
Law.
can't do anything with the local, the required local contribution.
Exactly, that's the thing, so
That's
it's,
a
you know,
So if
we'd
we
like
get to
to
the
adjust.
total, it'll have to be adjusted.
Yeah, we'd like to
Yeah.
adjust, and where is it coming from? It's coming from discretionary, and
You
here's
still
why.
awake over here? You haven't commented yet.
And here's why.
Hey,
Are we on the right track? Not so.
Okay, so we have, I guess I should probably wait for there and get back.
Is it coming back?
Well, I'll ask a question then.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Karen, you asked Sherry, how much of their E&D money they were using, which is essentially their free cash.
Yeah.
And her answer was,
500,000,
but not all of it.
not all
She
of it.
said it was.
And we are using,
70.
She didn't know.
we are using a substantial amount of ours, but not all of it.
I mean,
Not all of it yet.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
we're using like 730,000 as 30 something.
Of 900 or,
Exactly, yeah, it's close to that.
Close to.
It's a lot more than 500,000, which when you divide it up by the 5 towns,
right.
is spitting in a bucket.
so part of our justification would be we are having to nearly, or maybe by the time it comes around, completely decimate our free cash. We think that that burden should be shared
Yes.
more
That's the-
by the schools.
That is a lot
Would
of
be a justification.
I mean, they have their E&D, and I get it. But they always have plenty, and they're having more that's gonna come this year.
so, could we recognize our fire chief, who happens to be the finance committee chairman over in Hubbardston, because they're dealing with the same thing? And maybe he can help us with the direction. Is that okay? We have to say yes, he can speak. So, yes.
Okay, thank you, Darren.
It's not
Um,
meeting.
Seth Knight, fire chief here in town. I'm also the finance committee chair in Hubbardston. We're part of the Quabbin Regional School District. We are the #2 town, similar to what Rutland is to Holden. So Hubbardston is the Barry. What we're doing, similar to what you're doing, Quabbin is in their first year of hold harmless. The governor's budget had $30 per student. The House budget just came out at $175. The schools told us they're not going to reduce their assessment, they're going to just use less E&D funds. So they're not passing any potential savings to the communities. Our towns are basically gathering together, they're asking the school to cut 500,000, and then in our case in Hubbardston, 24% of that 500,000 is our portion of it, and that's what we're reducing the school budget at town meeting. And then hopefully, we're not going to spend that free cash, we're gonna allow it to roll over, because if all the towns pass it, we own it anyway. So that way we come back in the fall town meeting, I think the select board has 60 days to accept a change in the budget, whatever, and if we don't have a town meeting by then, we take responsibility for it. And then we'll go at our normal scheduled fall town meeting, we'll balance the budget by putting the free cash that rolled over that was technically put aside for it, and plug that hole. And that's how we're doing in Hubbardston.
Yeah, I mean, that's, so
Kinda the same.
originally it was kind of, that's how we had talked about it, it was all 5 towns, but 2 of those towns have already kind of backed off of that. And in fairness, it was only one person from one committee who said that they were going to bring that idea up, and those committees voted the opposite direction, so, We certainly don't have agreement from all 5 towns, we have agreement from no towns.
My only caution would be to you is if it does pass at a reduced budget, don't spend the free cash that you saved,
Right.
because you may need that to.
Yeah, we were certainly, I think the original motion had that money just going back into free cash for us, and not changing the budget, and then obviously at fall town meeting, you could decide what to do with that if we wanted to that direction, so.
But I was just gonna say too, you talked about having another town meeting, and I believe, and I've read this over the years a number of times, people that, part of the budget that doesn't get passed in the annual town meeting can get corrected in the usual fall town meeting. But we did last year, we adjusted stuff last year, and I.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but it
if we
wasn't
don't
the school.
approve a school budget, they're
No,
gonna
no, I
ask for.
understand that, but if they, well, if it doesn't pass, just with us, we're gonna have to pay it anyways. But if another town doesn't pass it, and they go to a 1/12 budget, then we can correct it at the November meeting without having a next special.
There's no way they would be okay with that.
You got a 1/12 budget until you got, July, August, September.
You'll get
October.
a citizen's petition of 800 people signing to have an emergency town meeting. Almost guaranteed to see that one coming.
We can't worry about that. The cost
No, I'm
of
just
doing
saying
another
that,
town
to
meeting
think
is-
that,
It's
we're
so
gonna save,
inconsequential.
you know, a little bit of money by having that.
I'm not
I
saying
don't
we
think
should
it'll
do
happen.
that, I'm just saying it could be done in order not to
Yeah.
have that other town meeting.
I
I
get
think
you.
we also had one before, we had one pretty quick right thereafter too, to reconsider, Tommy, didn't we, back in the day?
Yep,
I'm not sure, I don't remember the date, but.
we had it before June 30th.
Yes, we did.
We had it right before June 30th.
Since we said it was okay for Seth to talk to us, can I ask him a question? Procedurally, how did all the towns get to this same conclusion?
Basically, they were just, all the towns in our district are in the same financial situation. That the increased assessments over there is just crippling the towns. In Hubbardston, Quabbin makes up 64% of the town budget. And we have really little to no town services. So.
It's pretty much the same, really. I mean,
Yeah.
other than we have town services.
No,
Yeah.
what I'm really asking is, was there some kind of meeting between the chairs of the finance
Yes.
committee or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I need to know, thank you.
So, but the difference between what Seth is talking about and what we're seeing is, you know, the Quabbin School Committee is not recommending to use the increased Chapter 70 funding to give back to the towns, whereas at least from the administrative portion, we're getting that recommendation. We will have potentially a motion from the school committee tonight, which obviously doesn't help us right now, to use that money towards giving back to the towns, lowering the assessment. So there is a difference between the two situations, right? Again, it's minimal, I get it, but I think there is a difference, because they're not getting that money back, they're basically saying, wait a second, you guys are getting increased funds, so give it back. So. Alright, so we have, is there any other further discussion? The motion on the table right now and seconded was to recommend Article 9 as currently is.
I got
Any
one
other
other
discussion?
question. She said possibly we might get a figure that roughly, we said might be about 175,000.
Yeah.
The amount that we are going to ask that they reduce by is pretty similar to that number,
It's
yes?
like half.
This is half of what we are, so we would be asking for 3 something.
It was 370-ish from the original amendment, or the original motion that I had made a few weeks ago.
So we go down to 210.
So let's say on May 9th, hypothetically, that ta-da, this 175 became a pretty good reality. Probably won't be a firm reality, but a much better reality than tonight. What we move on the floor could be changed.
Well, if it hasn't.
Yeah, I
been
mean,
voted down.
technically it would be written into, I don't know if the town sees the motion documents with our recommendations in it or not, I don't know that, they do.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, we'd have to, change our recommendation if we met before the meeting happened and we wanted to again reconsider, we could change that and then. on the
Because
floor, we'd have
we're
to
talking
adjust it.
about coming up with a number tonight.
Technically, we don't have to, if we wanted to push it off and do it another day, we could, but, that's, I mean.
So
we
we're
probably
just gonna
should.
recommend, just to be totally clear, we're gonna recommend, this vote is to recommend favorable.
Yeah.
And then on the meeting floor, we're gonna agree tonight on a number to go down, or we're
That would
gonna
make
do that
us-
right now. How is that working?
I wouldn't think that would make sense, how
Right,
would we
it
vote
wouldn't be
favorable and then
Oh,
put
no,
an
no, no, if
amendment
we
on the
make, no, if
floor?
we vote favorable action on this, I would
That's
not
it,
say
we're
that
done.
we would be.
We're at that
for an
number right
amendment.
there.
Yeah,
If
Yeah,
we
but we
vote,
can put, I thought we could put a.
No, if
No.
what you're saying, just what Al said, if we say favorable, well, we recommend a favor, then we're at the number that we talked about the other night.
Alright.
If not, I think we
if
gotta
you still
change it.
wanna do, if you still
Thinking
wanna
of
make an
procedure,
amendment to
that's
that
all.
number, you can, but then we're not doing it as a finance committee, we're
Right.
doing it as a citizen thing.
Right.
Okay,
That's the difference in my, opinion.
So we would have to vote no, not to recommend it with an amendment to
Correct.
change.
Correct.
okay,
Well, we're either voting yes or no, but we'll all know that our plan is to amend it. It's not to
And
just
technically,
axe
we've
the
already
whole
made
thing.
that, we already made that motion to adjust the amount. We made that recommendation to the select board, I
Right.
believe was the motion. Which we could use that as the amendment amount and go from there. I don't
We
know.
didn't even get to the select board. It was only at the finance committee.
But I thought the recommendation was I thought the motion was to recommend to the select board to change, no, maybe it was just us.
No, it was just us,
was
and
just
then we
us.
voted not to recommend.
Yeah.
Right, because you
So we
don't recommend
technically-
and then amend,
Right.
you
Yeah.
not recommend and recommend.
So we technically already have an amount in a motion from the last meeting we had. We could stick with that amount, that
It
motion.
wasn't a dollar figure.
It wasn't a
No, it
dollar
was a
figure,
percentage.
but it'd be easy to
Well, we
calculate
could- we would
that
just
dollar.
have to
Yeah, but we'd wanna give them a dollar figure.
Yeah,
okay.
Can I ask a question?
sure.
How much are you short for the, are you saying 300,000
Sure, what do you mean?
to the school?
you got it on you?
No,
How much?
about 350, Dougie.
Okay, can I just make a suggestion?
Sure.
I've done this for a few years. Look at the revenue. Okay? If you look at the revenue from the information I got online, the new growth was over 500,000 for this year. They're estimating 250. If you look at motor vehicle excise, they're looking at no increase on motor vehicle excise. They're not looking at any increase on the building fees. So I would just look at the revenues before you go really crazy, because I think you may be able to get some of that money out, because it looks like everything was pretty much level funded.
Especially a town planner is relevant to the town's finances and the town's ability to, make additional money through.
That's true. 100%.
However, I don't know. the
Economic
specifics, right?
development,
Thank
a
you.
planning board,
This goes
RDIC.
back to the same thing we just said about the schools. We're not saying we're against the schools. I'm not against that, all those things you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree with the fact that if there's money there to use, not to use free cash.
So-
You say it's only 22, but that's $22,000 in free cash, which should stay there.
But.
That's my point.
But the planning board may not vote to use their funds for it.
Well, I don't know if, again, I would love to ask the town council if the selectmen recommend that, I don't know or the town administrator says that's what he wants to use it, I don't know if they have the power to do that.
They do not.
They do not.
Well,
And again,
where does it say that?
I don't know, but they
I
do
know-
not.
well, I know, but
They've been
so-
told they do not have that authority. They
yeah,
ask.
same
You
with
don't
like.
know, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
How
we
do
don't have the
know?
power to use the recreation funds either. It's a revolving fund that we do not have we or the select board or the, town administrator does not have the right to do
I
that.
think the
Well, we're not
perception would be
using it.
better.
We're not using
Darren's
it. We're
opinion
recommending.
is the perception would be better if the planning board made this.
I don't disagree
Yeah.
with that, but if they
I
don't
agree.
make the motion, I mean, well, I
If
guess
they're
if
not
they don't
gonna
make the motion,
spend the
shame on
money.
them, but.
Well, if they're not gonna step up and do it, then, I'm sorry.
Well, Karen's point is just,
I don't disagree with her at all, but
Right.
this has nothing to do with the finance committee per se,
Right.
it has to do with the planning board doing the right thing.
I
The one
think it's
thing, the
in-
one thing
I
that we're
think we're
doing,
overstepping our bounds. Do I agree 100% with Karen that we should do it because it's financial for the town?
I
Yes.
look at it as the town operating budget is not right the way it is. The way that those cuts were made were inequitable.
It's also financially responsible for us to have a full-time town planner. It's in our financial best interest, which I do think is the purview of the finance committee. I think
Yeah.
we are doing the financially responsible thing. It's using free cash, which is
So,
financially irresponsible.
so along those same lines, if we're gonna go down this dusty trail, we have town employees that aren't getting their raises,
Mhm.
not contracted, just regular employees that aren't getting a raise, and contracted employees. So wouldn't it be beneficial to the town, if that's where you're going with this, wouldn't it be beneficial to the town if they all get their raise too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they'd be happy employees
from free cash,
from free cash. So why are we,
which we could do.
what, yes, so why are we?
No, I think we should do it, but what, the Board of Health is using their funds to pay their person.
I don't think they're using it to pay salary. I think they're using it to pay.
They're using their
It's
funds
just
to,
salary?
to
27%.
fund their budget.
But what else can they use a revolving fund to spend for? Do they have legal expenses? Do they have those
I'm
kinds
sure
of
they
things?
do, they
Well,
must have.
To be fair, if we're asking the planning board to
Yes,
use
ma'am.
theirs, if we're asking the health board to use theirs, that it's not right to, we should do all or not, I mean, it
But I
should be
thought
both
we
or
were, I
neither.
thought we were told last week when we were talking about the warrant, that the Board of Health volunteered, they
Yes.
weren't told.
That is correct.
Yes.
I also, yeah, it's,
I mean, it's semantics, I get it.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's
I mean,
semantics,
that's
but it's
actually,
still,
that is a
it's
big
our
difference,
money,
to be fair.
it's not their, it's our money.
Well, it's the board's money.
It's the townspeople's money.
Right. That's whose money it is.
So we basically are voting favorable or unfavorable, I guess I'm using the wrong word, to recommend or not recommend passage of the budget. And one reason we would vote to not recommend it is because the town planner is not being funded in its entirety.
So
At this
There
point-
are also several other positions
correct.
that are not getting fully funded.
I figured we'd have that conversation after this conversation and get it all in, but I wanted to start with one, because that one's the easier, to me, that was the easier one, because that's the only employee who took, I know his hourly wage stayed the same, I know all of that, he got cut.
But at this point, what Ted just said is correct. This was presented to us as the budget, and the only thing that we're talking about right now is the one item that you just talked about.
Yeah.
That's what was we deferred it, we said not recommended on that one item.
Well, no, we deferred it because we hadn't discussed
We
it
hadn't
as a
really
committee
boiled
until
down.
tonight. But not
So
because of
that's
item.
one thing that
That's one of the things.
it seems like a number of us don't think is good. And I guess I'm gonna throw more mud in the water, and Darren started it, and say there's other people that,
Sure.
do we need to
If
consider
we
that
wanna
as well?
throw if you just wanna throw it all out there, I don't think any of us really recommend this because we all thought that an override was the correct way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, so technically speaking, this is all kind of a moot point because I don't think any of us and we might, again, we haven't taken that vote, but,
I just don't think that we, as well as he's the only employee that's doing it, he's the only employee that we're supporting at this time.
that's not true because we made the recommendation last, at the select board, at the mixed meeting to reinstate all the raises and, the contractual, it was like $45,000 or whatever.
No, we
the
did,
number-
No,
we did not.
The fire chief's pay
We
is
did
not going
not.
back.
We did.
All we did was make a recommendation to the select board to reinstate his salary, to ask them to reinstate TA's salary and the planner's
No,
salary.
no,
That's it.
and we didn't make, it wasn't an official motion,
Right,
but
That
we
was
talked
brought up.
about
We discussed
the
it.
45, yeah, I'm just saying, I thought
Wait,
it
it was
was
$45,000.
like $45,000 for everything, and we kinda said, well, why aren't we just doing that?
and I'm in agreement on that. I
Yeah.
figured I'd start with this one and then we'd go to that one.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have two motions. the one that we're talking
We
about
could
now.
have said motion.
No,
Right, exactly, I'm just saying, that's the only reason I started there, because that one is clear cut.
I second that. I think it's, if we do this in pieces or we do it all at once, doesn't make a difference.
Right.
We're
I
doing
figure
it.
start here and then go, cause.
I think that I think somebody could make an amendment to that motion to, include all of that, just a thought.
Sure.
If you wanna be equitable, we could, do that.
So I mean.
But what I think I hear Mr. Darren here saying is, we recommend no. Somebody else needs to make the amendment on behalf of the planning committee, or these other people as well, other employees as well.
But just like the school budget, if we say no, we have to have a reason why we say no. In my opinion, we have to have a reason why we say no.
Somebody's gonna ask, right?
Well, one reason is we need to fully fund our town planner.
Right, and we
A
should.
second reason would be that there are X number of employees that we feel should be treated as
exactly.
Yeah. To
equitable
the
as
unions,
the
basically, it's, we want the non-union employees to get the raises that they deserve.
Right.
And did you
COLAs.
say it's $45,000 to do that?
That was the
That's
roughly
the number
number.
that
It's
Austin.
not
And
exact.
the town planner is,
21,
That was included.
Of the, no, that was on top of that.
No, I believe that 45 included the 21.8. It did not include the health, the 50 for the health, but included the 21.
I'm not sure.
I'm like 70% sure of that.
we'd have
so
to
we're
get
either
it.
45, 67, or maybe just a little bit more than that.
Well, if we decided to go with the health, it would be 110, right?
Well, but so, this article is for town operation,
Correct.
and we're saying recommend, or don't recommend.
Well, right now, we're discussing the fact that we deferred it, and right
Right.
now, we're discussing the motion that's on the table, which is to, make a recommendation, or make an amendment to the town operating budget to add, 21,800 to bring up.
But don't we have to approve the article, or,
Well, actually, deferred is a, we could just defer it, we don't have to change that.
Right, we could just leave it as is, but we have to give something that night.
so we would have to give an explanation as to why we deferred it.
Well,
No, the deferred means we give them a motion that night.
So, we would give them, well, so we have, our process is that once the select board reads the motion, then the finance committee is asked, what's your recommendation? And we would say, recommend favorably, or we don't recommend favorably.
Correct.
We recommend unfavorably.
at the town, yeah.
At the
When
town-
the article is brought
at the
up,
town
we
meeting.
would then
So if
give
we-
our vote.
If we're recommending, if we're not recommending favorable on this now, then what do we have to do at the town meeting? All we're doing is that point, we say, we're not recommending this. And then it would be up to us to say, the reason that we're not recommending is that a planner who's not getting paid, you have 4 other people that aren't getting paid, not as to what they should, and that's why we recommend against it. And then let the town vote, yes, no. I mean, that'd be the process, right?
But they vote no on the town operating budget,
See, I don't know that we.
then where do we go? Then at that
Oh, that's
point,
a different story.
then we don't have a budget. Then
Right.
it's, so that's why I'm saying we make the amendment on the floor, and then at least we have something for them to,
Why are we?
Or what
making-
Darren is saying, each department needs to make the amendment request on.
And why are we
Their
making,
behalf.
I'm gonna say this, go for this at a different angle. Why are we even recommended to spend more money? If we, and I'm thinking this from a different direction.
Especially if we're taking the school committee and trying to take money away.
Right. So if we voted favorable of this, and just the way they put it, presented, the members, someone on the floor, the planning board, anybody can make that motion. I'm wondering why, as a finance committee, we're recommending to spend more money of that we don't have. Financially, judgment aside, I don't think we're doing exactly what we don't wanna do.
I agree.
But I understand why we're doing it, because it's a beneficial position to the town of Rutland, but I would make the motion that we vote favorable to this. We pass the information along to these people, and if someone on our committee would like to stand up as a citizen, they should do it. That's it, and we shouldn't recommend spending money if we're taking away from the schools, and we're doing exactly what we don't wanna do.
The schools are whole.
The schools are whole. We took significant cuts at the town to make the schools whole. The other thing I will say is that my opinion is that treating your employees properly is a fiscally responsible thing to do.
But that's not us.
Absolutely it is.
No,
Certainly
not the
Disagree
finance
with you
committee.
heavily.
Oh,
It is
wow.
our responsibility
Recommend it.
to do the most,
Okay.
to make recommendations and make recommendations to the select board and the town administrator to do things that are fiscally responsible.
All right, so we did. They didn't wanna do it. Why are we voting to spend more money?
Because we still think it's the fiscally responsible thing to do. And I do, I think it's if you lose an employee, it costs more money to replace that position.
How are we going to replace the town planner if and when he gets upset and leaves?
Well, right now.
Especially
the
That was the
town-
whole reason why we said to fund the town administrator's position.
But in all reality, we're not gonna lose a town planner. He's gonna get funded through a different source.
He
We
may
don't
not.
know that.
What,
They should. If that comes up with the town meeting floor, you don't think the people are gonna say the same thing?
would the planning board recommend that they don't use their money? And go against it?
They haven't recommended that they do.
No, but you know what I'm saying, so
Yes, I
we're,
do know.
like,
But that's not our dollars, just that we are currently, the planning board dollars does not exist to us. We are looking
No,
at
that's not true.
We are looking at a town operating budget. The planning dollars are not part of the town operating budget. I don't care,
Every single dollar in town is our
but
responsibility.
that's not the town operating budget. None of the revolving funds are included in the town operating budget, period.
134 employees, and he's the only one that took a cut. Only one.
Because there's another funding mechanism for him.
that our chief financial officer recommended.
He didn't recommend, he asked in a letter from his office after the select board had already passed the budget as is. He
So,
did not ask ahead of time. That note went out to the planning board. The day after they approved the budget with the cut. They had no conversation with the chair, vice chair, or planning board committee prior to them approving the budget.
I still think that none of that even like, to me, the operating budget is the operating budget.
Right.
And we should be looking at the operating budget as the funding, the other funding source that's not a
Yeah,
funding
but
source.
why is it any of ours, why do we, the group of us,
Yeah.
care what the chief financial guy, Austin, recommends?
But
I'm
is
not-
it him or the Board of Selectmen?
Right, but what's,
either
we're recommending we're doing 180 degrees what we did for the schools. Hear me out. And I just think that it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I don't necessarily agree, only because I think that we are recommending to do something that is I believe is fiscally responsible, that I do believe is in our purview. The school's taking a cut is because all of our town services took a cut and the school did not. And so we're saying that I would like to do the fiscally responsible thing to make our employees, trust me, they're not happy, even if
Because
we
he's
do
not
bring
making
this.
any more than he's making this
Yeah,
year.
and even if we do give all those employees the COLAs that they get, which is like, what, 2%, they're still not happy because they're in a situation where the town is struggling, and that's never fun to be a part of.
Right.
So, I mean, we're doing what we can to make them as happy as we can, which is, to me, again, the fiscally responsible thing to do, because we're hoping that we keep those employees and that they don't leave and we have to replace it and it costs more money.
Well, because the thing is at this point, we've made every other position that took a cut whole, and now he is the only one that took a hit. And I just think that is in my opinion, that is very,
And that's your opinion.
discriminatory.
And we've heard it numerous times, and I'm gonna repeat what I said, there's another funding source that the money can come out of, and every dollar that the town has is our responsibility to look at, to recommend to the taxpayers what we're doing with it.
Alright, so we have a motion, we have a second, so the motion right now on the table is to, recommend or make an amendment to the town operating budget on the town floor to add 21,800 roughly to make the town planner whole, whatever the number, we'll have to come up with the exact dollar
That
again.
is the exact
Okay,
dollar.
thank you. 21.8, from free cash, to make it, so that's the current motion. I think we've discussed this, is there any further or points that anyone wants to make that we haven't brought up already?
I have a question.
Sure, please.
So, after we vote on this particular motion, we still have not decided whether or not we recommend
Correct.
yes or no on, I forget what.
On the
I
operating
call it.
budget.
Four.
Article four.
Four,
Correct.
thank you.
And I would think if we're gonna amend it, we would then have it would be a no vote, but I think we should probably take that vote anyway.
Right.
But we have a motion, we have a second, so, no, so we still need to take a vote on the recommend or not recommend, correct?
Can you repeat the current motion again?
Yep, it's to add to the current operating budget, $21,800 from free cash to fund the planner to bring them back to a 40-hour work, or whatever the, full-time.
Full salary.
Full-time.
Yeah, full salary.
Any other discussion that we had not brought up? Okay, all those in favor
Could
of
you
the.
do a roll call, please?
Yes, all those in favor, we'll do a roll call of the motion for $21,800 from free cash to make the planner full in salary. We'll start, Lynn.
Winika, aye.
Narwhal, aye.
Manley, aye.
Ross, nay.
Purcell, nay.
Rochelle Lene,
Mowat, aye. Yes,
So carried.
4-3. Yep. Okay,
You said yes or no?
I did.
He broke the tie. So, now we have to have a,
there was no tie, it was 4-3.
Well, that
well,
was the last
there
one.
was a tie before the chairman.
Yeah, but it's
Okay,
4-3.
4-3. So, now we have to vote.
Well,
So, I wanna just say something. I don't know how we do it, but I think we need to go back somehow into the records, and this goes back to the days when, I remember when Joe Becker was on the finance committee, and it was discussion about who puts the budget in front of the town meeting, and it came down to, and according, and I don't know where to read it in here specifically, so it's very simple to understand, is the finance committee, so my point of getting at is, if we're making these changes, this budget should go to the town meeting with the way we want the numbers in that budget for them to look at. Yet, I understand it's recommended, they developed a budget and it's recommended to us, but my understanding of that information, and this goes back, like I said, quite a few years ago, that the finance board is supposed to present the budget to the town meeting. So, it's gonna, to me, it's kinda interesting that we're doing these things, we're gonna make these changes on the floor of what's there, so. And I don't know how that plays out.
Because it's not our budget, that was taken away from us.
So should we be making-
You can't take it away if the state law says the finance board is supposed to do it.
But the bylaw did, it took it away and gave it to the town administrator and the select board.
You mean the bylaws of town,
Yeah.
just we did last year?
Yeah,
I thought it said it was in conjunction with them. No, I'd have to go read
So
those.
the select board's whole thing is they viewed it as a more ceremonial presenting the budget, like the ceremonial way you present a bill or a law.
Okay, okay.
That's how they did
I'll have to
it.
go read it.
Tommy, it's on page 26 of the town bylaws. I'm trying to get there.
and I totally understand what you're saying, Tommy, and I don't disagree that it's a little bit awkward in this scenario. And even if we are the ones who are bringing the budget, we've already established it by the warrant article that the budget is where it is now.
Yep.
So I do think that if we want to change the budget, it should theoretically be through an
Okay.
amendment because we're at that point, right?
Alright.
So
But the amendment should be to add the 21.8 to the existing budget.
correct.
Right, so we will,
What to the budget being presented,
the
correct?
budget being presented.
Right.
And we would do the same thing with the other people that didn't get their raises. That we
Well,
would-
nobody's made that motion.
How is this gonna get on the piece of paper that the taxpayers are gonna see?
We would have to make
Make
a
the
motion.
No, but we should give them the
Right.
accurate thing in the beginning.
No, it's gonna be an amendment. It's like the.
No, but we just voted.
I mean, I can ask the town administrator how we should handle that change,
Yep.
but I think it's gonna have to be.
They've already approved
floor.
the budget.
Yeah.
I know, that's,
Okay.
We didn't vote on an amended number, which is what I might have liked to have done.
Right.
We voted on whether or not we are going to amend on the floor
so
the budget.
what we just did, guys, is we disagreed with the selectmen and the town administrator, which I think is okay to do, I'm not. But we've thrown this, the whole process into a tizzy with, we could have accepted it and voted it down without that amendment. We could have done whatever we wanted on the town meeting floor. We've made this so complicated that on the town meeting floor, we're gonna have to explain to people, because it's not gonna be in the, I don't know.
But
We made
how-
it way more complicated than it needs to be.
But how could we say, how could we have voted, yes, we approve this budget, but then amend it?
Right.
Well, we approved this budget, that's why I was saying that the planning board should do it.
But we haven't approved the budget.
Okay.
I don't think we have.
We haven't
never had
approved
a
that
meeting.
article.
We haven't even, this is our first chance to really discuss the
Yeah,
budget.
we've
in
discussed a
detail.
lot of pieces of the budget as we've gone through this
Right.
process, which is totally fine. But we have there have been changes to the, in fairness, they've been small changes, so this is not bashing the process because changes to a budget happen, there's nothing wrong with that. But to be fair to all of us, this is the first time
The
that we.
duties in the town bylaw says the committee shall submit the proposed budget at the annual
Right.
town meeting. Shall,
Shall.
not may, not might, shall. So, we have to get with Austin, and he has to make this.
And that's my point, is we should be presenting, the budget should be there as we want it, and then the changes get made by somebody
They've
else.
decided to do they've decided, the selectmen has authorized the town administrator to do it, but we still, on page 27, duties, section B, the committee shall, so we gotta make sure that happens. We don't need the confusion at the town meeting, cause we're already gonna be in it. It's not gonna be fun.
So I'm going back to what Ted just asked also. I think then that we voted on that motion, right? So we need, the motion now is, we're gonna recommend Article 4. Well, that's what we need
As
to do.
amended.
We're gonna have to say the Finance Committee moves favorable action on Article 4 with an amendment to add that number in it, the way you're saying it now, if it's their stuff.
I don't think we're adding any articles.
No, we're not adding articles.
So I think what we're doing is we're saying the article that's being presented, the finance committee is recommending not to approve, and then there's an amendment to that article that has a different number on it.
So how does what we
Well,
just
yeah.
did affect the warrant that was already been?
So we will, instead of just putting the 21,800 free cash, we'll have to increase the total,
Right.
expenses
By
appropriate
21,800.
by 21,000, so we'll just have to adjust the total.
You can just say we want to increase from free cash 21.8 to fund the planning. That way the town knows why we
Yeah, I think
want
that's
to
fine.
change, it's just clear,
I don't
instead
think
of
it's
saying
confusing
change it
either.
to anything
I
else.
honestly don't think it's confusing.
It's gonna be confusing, but I disagree, but let's go, let's move on.
Um, Do we have to reconsider the vote on Article 4, or because we deferred it, do we just have to take?
Well, I would think we would have to take a vote on recommending or not recommending that article.
Wait, did we have to reconsider it first, though?
Oh, good question.
Because technically,
Well,
we
did we
voted to defer.
voted to defer?
Correct.
Then
And
if we-
technically, the deferred writing is that we would make a
That we should-
recommendation as the article is presented. So I think technically, in order to do this tonight, we would have to reconsider the motion.
Was that in the meeting notes, is that what they called it, deferred or?
Deferred,
Deferred.
yes.
Okay.
And it's in that front page, that's what I checked, it's in that first
Okay.
page. This is the combined select board, he's talking about in the minutes.
It's on page, yeah, they changed it all around this year.
This one.
Had to go several times back to it to see, because I'm like, which one do we wanna do now?
What are you looking for?
Page 9,
No,
page
but
9 tells you what the choices are now.
I don't have it here. I did read it.
So we have to make
How is
a,
Joe homeowner gonna know what we're doing when he comes in and gets the packet from the town?
what do you mean?
Cause they're gonna get this, they're gonna get a real number,
Yeah,
and how is that gonna be put to them?
we would make an amendment to say we're
No,
increasing.
no.
The article's not gonna change.
What you
That
said
has
earlier was
presented.
correct. What he's gotta talk to the town administrator about is just when they put their little explanations under there, it's gotta say that the finance board has voted to do X, Y, Z, and they wanna add that number in, you're right, cause they're gonna read that information and not understand what's going on.
No, the amendment is separate and apart
Right.
from this article.
It is, it's
And
not
that
part
will
of the
not
warrant.
happen until the town meeting.
Right, it's not part of the warrant.
But if we're gonna say here that we don't recommend this
Correct.
budget,
Right.
it's because of that addition.
Yeah.
So that should be said right there.
At the moment, we haven't voted
No, I
yes or
understand,
no.
I
We
understand,
voted
I'm
to
saying,
defer it.
right.
I mean, we would make that, we would say that when the article is happening, they would read Article 4, we would give our not recommended,
Right.
there'd be an awkward silence, and then we'd say, we make a motion to amend that number, and then that would be our explanation. And we could say, when I make that amendment, I could say, we voted to not recommend this due to this amendment.
And we're voting on that tonight, so that should go into an explanation like Darren's talking about, so it's there.
It's no different than the amendment to the school budget. It's
Correct.
done on the night of the town meeting.
We have the information and it's a public record, it should go in the recommendation so people understand what we're doing.
We took a step to make it different than it is,
Right.
which,
Because the budget as it is 11,451,872. If we make an amendment and it goes down, the budget is 11,451,872.
Correct.
Correct.
But
So
I
they
don't
either-
think we should put anything in the motion document.
They either agree
not sure we
with us that
can.
we increase the town
No,
plan.
That's what's approved.
Right.
So is the motion document different than the warrant? I think it is,
No,
right?
the motion document is just a piece of paper for us to refer to.
Okay. So if you want to be, so you can change that however you want. Once there's an agreement here, we could change
But the
the,
explanations are in the documents
In
of
the
the
warrant?
warrant and the ones we have.
okay.
So the article says, this article requests funds for the municipal operating budget for fiscal year 2026. The standard motion for the municipal budget appropriation may include the transfer of funds from other sources such as free cash, OPEB, for example. The select board may propose an alternative budget motion at town meeting. That's the summary. That's what's there.
Right.
And then they just have recommendations, favorable, unfavorable, or, no, recommend, not recommend, and whatever.
No recommendation.
Yeah. So that's all that's there on this, and any amendment would be made on that night. We'd have to have it typed up, ready to go,
Right.
so that we give it to the town clerk.
And we would explain to the town why we're making this amendment,
Right.
and I could say, it was a 4-3 vote, whatever you guys want me to say, I'm fine with that, but I do think that it should stay out of the motions document, because it is strictly an amendment to the article, it is not part of the article.
and the whole thing would have been, yeah, okay.
If people are confused, they'll ask questions. If they don't like it, they'll vote it down. That's fine.
is
But
what
we
it is.
leave it up to the public to decide.
So now we gotta vote what we're gonna do.
I think technically we need to reconsider, we need a motion to reconsider our recommendation on Article 4 is what we need right now.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I don't know, who was
Second.
first? That was the same exact time? Give it to Ted.
Ted.
Pete made the last one. Give it to Ted.
That's right.
So what was the motion again?
To reconsider
reconsider our
Article
vote.
4. Okay. So that's just to reconsider. It's seconded. Any discussion on reconsidering it? All those in favor of reconsidering Article 4?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So now we need a motion for recommend or not recommend Article 4, or no action. Please don't defer, because we just changed that. One of the three first ones, please.
I make the motion that the finance committee not recommend Article 4.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? We kind of discussed a lot of this in backwards motion here, but if there's any further discussion on this, or anyone wants to say anything else?
We had a fair amount of discussion earlier about the fact that in addition to the town planner, there are a number of other employees that are going to be getting, I don't know, cut's the right word, less compensation.
They're not getting their
They're not
raises,
getting
they're
it.
not getting anticipated raises. And I guess the bigger one is, not bigger, that's not fair. The worst part of it is that the contractual obligated raises are not happening. And then there's also COLAs that are not happening for non-union staff.
So could we recommend everybody at once for one instead of doing this twice at the town meeting for?
We could make an amendment to the motion that was previously made, and we could adjust that, which is
Yep.
hopefully how we do it, but letting the process go.
We don't want to do more than one.
No, we definitely do not want to do more than one. Oh, well, actually, that's not, I mean, maybe we do.
No, I think it's easier to do it as one amendment and
definitely
explain
easier.
why.
It's definitely easier to do it as one amendment, but I do think that
It might be
there is a
easier to-
difference between the two pieces of this, because one of the one that we've already approved is the only person that is currently being cut as far as their compensate, the amount that they're receiving in total from the town, whether it's a cut in hours, however you wanna look at it, that's the only
Less than what
person
they're
who is
making this year.
getting
But we
less
gotta be
money.
careful how we word that, because he is not being cut. We are funding it from a different source.
We
No,
are
He
potentially.
was never
funding-
gonna get cut. They were going to take it from their revolving fund,
That is
or
not-
they will recommend. So, hear me out, the planning board would say, no, we're not taking it out of our revolving account and run down the road. They would be that set in stone.
We have no idea.
We
Well,
don't,
but that's not that's not our purview, who cares?
I thought they sent us a letter that said this position is getting cut, that's unfair, fix
We
it.
did.
right,
did.
They didn't send it to this, I haven't seen that letter.
Dot.
yes, we did.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she read it. We didn't see it. She read
No,
it.
you forwarded it to all of
I-
us.
Oh, you
forwarded
did
it
get
all
it
to you
forwarded
guys.
by email.
It was forwarded from Darren,
Oh, then yes, she
Darren's
did.
email.
It was sent to the
then-
chair and the vice chair, and I forwarded it that night.
That night you used my phone
Yes.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Whatever.
And she also read it at a meeting
So
as
that it
well.
was there.
So it was said
So
to
we were
everyone.
told that they don't think that that's equitable.
Okay.
Carol's.
Karen's got it.
Yeah,
Regarding salaries for the people that did not receive the COLAs, etc. It has been done before that you take that up at the fall meeting
mhm.
with any 25 free cash. You could even do it retroactive to July 1, depending on the situation, so.
That's why I do think that, as much as I don't wanna make two separate amendments, I do think that there's a difference between the amendment that we've already pushed forward and the amendment of, bringing, you could do it differently.
It's two different means to the same end, we're
We're making the people whole. Well, we're
Yes.
getting there two different ways.
Well, currently, the town planner is just brought back to
What he's making
Well,
this
what he's
year,
making this year,
same as everybody else.
right, which is the same as everyone else. The second thing that we're talking about now is
Brings it
putting in
back
the
up.
COLAs and the increases that everyone else, was originally,
And him.
should get. And I believe he's one, yeah, he should be one, I don't know for,
So in this, we're saying, we don't want a 75% town planner, we want a 100% town planner.
correct.
In the other, we're saying they should be getting these
COLAs and
Contractual.
contractual raises.
raises. And someone just brought up, Carol, the idea that that could be handled in a completely different way.
It could be, I mean, it's,
We've done that a lot of years
Yep.
because we've had to take the low hanging fruit unfortunately and had to retroactive it back to July.
I think it would be a good recommendation from us that we do everybody at the same time at this town meeting, just to get it out there that we are,
I would
That's
agree
all.
with that.
cause
So,
I just put it.
I think it does a lot for morale, and I've said it before, who is gonna wanna come work for this town?
Right.
Yeah.
We're gonna
So-
find that out with a, town administrator soon.
And that's the reason why they voted to fund that position completely, even though he justified why we could take the cut.
Right.
So,
but it's not, and not to mention that we may or may not get a town administrator for the amount of money that's in there, so
Right.
that might be a problem all in and of itself.
correct.
So yeah, it's,
And that's the problem we have with all these positions, they leave and it ends up costing us more money in the long run.
It's the same thing that happened when the last town planner left.
So we have a motion to amend the budget article, right? For 21,800, right?
Well, we have a
No.
motion
Yes.
that the finance committee will recommend that at the meeting.
Right,
We have, we approved that,
Right. So
Now,
Yes.
to
now
see
we
if
need
we're
to be able to do for the
gonna-
COLAs and such.
So,
Do we
yes.
have a number for that?
no.
well, so actually the
exact-
motion on the floor right now is Karen made the motion not to recommend Article 4.
Yes.
Right.
That's what we're voting on.
That's right.
But we're at, per discussion, we're talking
Just
about how
talking
we
about
make
other
the other
things.
adjustment that we
Right.
talked about that should happen, right? So
Okay. So one amendment article or two. Once we do the,
yeah,
we're gonna say.
as much as yeah. It should be one amendment, but I just,
I think it should be one and then broken down the way we want.
my fear is
So it
that
gets
if the
recorded.
town decided to not do the COLAs and raises, but did think that the town planner should be brought to whole because it is slightly different, that a no vote on that amendment would get rid of both of those two
Well, it
things.
is kind of
That's
two
true.
different things.
That's
It's
why I'm
COLAs and
saying it's two
raises
different
and it's
things.
bringing them
It is,
whole.
Okay.
it's two different.
And that's fine too.
As
Okay.
much as two is confusing to a much
So we
bigger
have a
degree,
motion on the floor to recommend no and nay.
to not recommend.
Not
Recommend
recommend
full.
Article 4.
Okay.
Is there any, so I guess let's
Yeah,
well, we could, I
do
mean,
that.
technically, we could make the motion to do that during this, right? We could make another amendment during the current motion.
Well, we could vote to not recommend and then make another motion to,
Correct. We'll just make it.
Just
We've
like
already,
we're doing
we've
for
already
school.
amended
Yeah.
it technically, so really, okay, alright, so any other discussion on not recommending Article 4? Okay, let's take a vote on it, all those in,
Wait, one second.
yes,
Because we are going to be making an amendment, we almost have to shoot down the budget, right?
I think technically we should, but I don't know the technical.
I mean, if you approve the budget, how are you gonna amend it?
that's,
I mean, you could, I suppose, but what's the rationale behind it?
That's why I keep going back to the people that he works for should do this, but, and it would be so easy, but.
Probably
They already said that
anyone
they
with
were
the
going to.
COLAs
Yeah.
should.
Well, if
do
they,
it.
if they said they're not gonna do it, then why would he wanna work there anyways? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're not wrong,
It doesn't just work for them.
no, I think Darren's talking about all of the employees, correct?
Well, Yeah,
I mean,
but
I think it's all of
focus
them.
on him, but
I
John,
mean, all
yeah.
of them, and we've been doing this, unfortunately, Darren, you know, we've been doing this for years, and we always have that hard discussion, because no one likes to do it, but you don't have a choice.
And next year is not going to be better.
Different, yeah.
It's gonna be.
Alright,
Alright, so we're on.
the motion currently is to not recommend Article 4. All those in favor of not recommending Article 4?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay,
Okay, so 6-1 to not recommend.
And one abstention, Mr. Ross.
5-1-1.
Hmm?
and I wrote this in ink, I knew I should have brought it this whole time.
Alright, so we, by the time the town meeting comes up, we gotta come up with a couple things, motions that we need to figure out and do that for both these things.
And we need, one of those things is to get the exact number
For
for
the second part of that.
the second part of that, which we haven't actually made,
We
no one's
haven't
made a
made any
motion
motion
that
for
we
that.
wanna do that, so we should probably get a motion on that as well. With
We don't
pending
need-
the
don't
dollar
we-
amount.
Okay.
We don't technically need a motion on that, we could do it,
So if
we
we take,
do eventually.
Yeah.
if we take this 21.8, and what's the other number you said about?
40.
I thought it was 45
Austin said
total.
somewhere about 45, but we gotta make
45
sure.
or 47.
I didn't have a chance to go through and add it all up today.
I haven't had, yeah.
What does that leave in free cash then after doing all that?
$12.
No, it's something under,
It'll be about 100K,
yeah.
give or take.
Okay, so,
Alex, didn't you hope that that 21 was already buried in that 45?
I believe it is, but I'm being conservative to say that if it's 60, we would have about 100K left. in that.
Article 5 was the school maintenance stabilization, we said okay on that one. The capital
No,
estate,
we're not.
But we're still going back,
Yeah.
we're still voting.
We're not done
That's-
on
We're not
4,
done.
are we?
Capital
I'm
stabilization,
sorry.
actually, you know what, to be fair, we did make a no vote on another one, it's capital stabilization. Oh, we haven't finished
We
Article
haven't
4.
got that.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, we gotta finish 4.
Which is, we need another motion.
Again, we don't technically, if you guys wanna wait to do this, we have time, so.
no, we
if-
should go on record, if that's what you wanna do, that's what you're gonna do at town meeting, let's do it, so
Well,
let's,
all I'm saying, we need to do it before.
then we need a
Town
vote
meeting.
on it if it's gonna be from the
I'm
committee.
saying we don't have to do it this instant, it
No.
can be done
We
the
could-
next meeting, or it can be done the night
Correct.
of.
So we would have to so just to be clear, we'd have to schedule another meeting for next week.
Right.
We could also do it the night of the meeting.
I will support it,
Good,
but I don't wanna make
Could-
that
we
motion
could.
because I'm sorry, I think we can wait till the fall for that and go back retro to July. Cause I don't know that we have enough information, like I'm used to having, in the past, I've always had a list of what free cash is available and everything. We really don't have that right now. So I'm fine with making a motion, but we don't know the number. We wanna make sure that we've got everything. So maybe we ought to schedule a meeting for next week, and then we just have this one discussion.
Okay.
Because
Is
once we have
everyone-
those numbers.
I don't disagree with that, I think that's a totally fair, is everyone fine with tabling any other conversation on Article 4 until,
And then
Our next
then we
meeting.
have the numbers, we know where we are with free
Monday
cash.
again, cause I can't do Tuesday. It's
Um,
Tuesday next week is the beginning of May, right?
Carol, do you have something?
Just,
Beginning of May
I
is
think it may-
Thursday.
I think it may have
What's
been
wrong
over.
with this
My wife's
Thursday?
birthday,
Sorry.
Thursday this week.
I'm not available
May
until
1st?
late.
No, what
No,
about
next week,
May 8th?
May 8th
Would it
is
be
a
it?
Thursday,
Right.
or what about, what, you said Monday, Darren?
No, that's fine.
No, you tell us.
Well,
Thursday would be fine.
oh,
That would
Monday
be right
night,
before the
Mondays,
meeting.
oh, I can't make it Monday night,
How
so,
about Thursday right before the meeting?
The 8th.
the 8th.
Thursday, the 8th?
As much as I don't want to come here again, but yeah.
And then we'll have a meeting scheduled before the meeting on the 10th, right?
I think if we have, too much discussion before the meeting on the 10th, we may run into a problem.
yeah, this is relatively a longer thing, so I think it would be prudent of us to meet on the 8th.
Right.
But hopefully it'll be a quick meeting,
Geez, I
may
like
not,
that. I like that word.
Prudent?
Alright,
Feels
so,
like it's.
I'm Carol.
Just
Yeah.
quickly, because you talked about the town planner position at 21.8, that's not including a COLA for him either.
Correct.
So
That's
just,
correct.
That's just to bring him.
Yeah.
just make
just
sure-
so that it doesn't get forgotten in the.
Right.
Yep,
Nope.
totally agreed.
Alright, so we're tabling.
So we're tabling the rest of Article 4, we'll leave that one alone. Do we wanna keep going the rest of the ones that?
We can
so-
grind,
Yeah,
if we
let's
can
just go
grind
over
them
real
out.
quick.
Yeah, let's. And
Can
we're-
I, just before it gets out of my brain, you better tell Tamika tomorrow
Yeah.
to get us on for the
Both
8th
times.
and the 10th.
Correct. I was gonna make the motion after we get done to make sure we do that.
Cause
So nothing gets.
I agree, cause that was kind of weird.
May 10th
So
schedule.
the fifth one, that was just for the money coming in, remember that was a wrong thing we did a couple of years ago?
No, no, it's not the
We're
wrong
going till
thing.
9:30.
This is establishing a stabilization,
No, Article 6 is the capital state we voted no on.
To not
For the
recommend.
schools.
Yeah, so
This
the
is for
select
the
board.
money that comes
Oh,
under
I'm
our
sorry,
contract.
yeah, that
And
one's
we
fine.
voted
So
okay
we're
with
good.
that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're 100% correct, I apologize.
Yeah.
So Article
So,
6 is the
We're
one.
not gonna
that-
reconsider that, we like that.
Article 6 is capital stabilization fund for Wachusett School District, and we said no.
Do we have any further discussion on that?
So did the
I just wanna throw out, I thought I heard Sherry say that she was going to make a recommendation,
To make it
To
only
them.
come from E&D for 3 years.
and
Correct,
that,
in the policy. But to be fair, we could discuss this at our next meeting,
Yep.
because we will, at that point, we would have
Hold
that
on.
vote. I don't know
Now we
that
can
that,
see it in written.
yeah, so I
black
do
and
think
white.
that is a,
that makes it more palatable.
Yep. Capital budget is 325, we said okay to.
Yep.
Town capital budget, we said okay to this ambulance replacement for the time being, because there's no money being appropriated. The school, we talked about the
talked
school.
about the school, we're good.
10 was okay for the
Yep.
Southern Worcester County one. Zoning bylaw accessory dwelling, oh gee, yeah, that's, and we said okay to that. Energy battery storage facilities.
We were good on that one, we're good. That was a long
Yeah,
one.
that was,
I hope they read that entire thing on the town floor.
okay.
Don't wish that we've had that happen.
Who's it good?
It's happened before, so don't wish it.
They've been good about summarizing.
Didn't we
lately.
used to, like, in our meeting last week with the select board, we didn't read everything,
Yeah,
it
we
was just the
don't- yeah, we haven't
articles,
done that
we
in a
haven't
few
done
years.
that.
No, but
Article
on the
13
town
was
meeting
okay.
floor, people have asked to have it read,
It's in
read.
front of
That
you.
would be good.
Article 14, we said okay,
Remember?
Article 15, local assembly, we said okay, okay.
One more we deferred, like.
Okay,
That's it.
budget fund, revolving fund budget's okay. This was water and sewer enterprise fund, we said okay to.
That's
I
the only
see
reason I show up to these
I
meetings,
see
Tom.
down by the cemetery, they added to that the other day.
Yep.
Okay, so-
And that was on
so
the
that's
new
all
line,
done.
Tom.
Yep, that's it.
Alright, so I'm just gonna go back through the list of things that I wanna verify, so, we need, the town administrator to give amendment language for the school, amendment, and frankly also the town operating, that one is probably more clear to me, so I don't do that, but I'll get verification on that. The town, council interpretation on the DESI guideline that we received, and whether or not we can amend before the total vote is taken. We're making an amendment we made an amendment to the free cash and account on a whole. Verify the amounts so I need to verify the amounts, the total amounts that the COLA and contract raises would cost for next meeting. And then we need to schedule a meeting on May 8th and May 10th.
And we need a list of what free cash is available.
After all.
Oh, well, we should just,
Yeah,
well,
we
if
should
you
just
give it
have
to us,
Jeffries.
then we can do our own math
Yes.
afterwards, but we
Totally.
kinda need that, cause I don't know what has changed.
Yep, as of today.
It's constantly
And
changing.
then, so list of free cash available today, and then what I'll also say is list of all pending free cash use as well.
He did tell me tonight, when I asked him, that they do believe that they will be able to fund the shortfall in ice and snow from other funding sources.
Some other savings throughout the town, yeah.
They,
Okay.
of what was the first?
Sorry. The ice and snow deficit for this last storm.
So making fund changes, shifts. Go ahead, Carol.
So I have just a couple of questions that I and it may have already been discussed. Article 5 is establishing a school maintenance stabilization, so that's not the same thing as the capital.
Correct.
But the school, we have a revolving fund.
No, there's
do.
no,
It's in the bylaws, but there is no fund.
The
I just looked it up, it's in the
town
bylaws.
council said it wasn't a legit.
The way it
use.
was written was.
But is there any money in it?
No.
No,
Okay, and the other is.
Wait a minute. Article 5, the money comes from the contract
Yeah.
that the town signs with what you say.
Yep.
For
I
maintenance.
understood that part, but then I.
So they couldn't put it into it goes into the operating budget, and it's not able to be kept aside to be used just for that purpose.
I guess my question was twofold. Because I heard that discussion,
Right.
thank you.
So we voted something similar to this 2 or 3 years ago, but it was, the
And
town council
revolving.
said something was incorrect about it, and this corrects it.
So I didn't know, because the
Mr.
revolving fund, I
Correct.
didn't know if there was any funds in there that we
Nope.
needed
No.
to move.
Nope.
The other thing though about the revolving funds, and this I hadn't heard, town bylaws has recreation department as a revolving fund, but this has recreation activities and recreation safe place, for expending.
It's always been 2.
I never
It's
saw-
always
I
been
never
2.
remembered the two, but I guess.
Safe place is separate and apart and run by a different.
Then
whole
shouldn't
thing.
it be,
All I
a
can say is
revolving
it's
fund and a
always been
bylaw.
2.
okay, I had not paid attention
Yep,
to that
yep,
before,
always
but
have
if
been.
it's not, if it's not the bylaw, I guess we
Yep.
really shouldn't be. Because we run into that before, that we couldn't authorize spending.
Nope, we've been doing this
Thank you,
for at least every year I've been on.
Okay.
thank you.
Anything else from anyone? Oh, we need to do minutes.
Minutes.
Yeah, before we get to minutes, I have one quick thing. I know this was the 2.5 override information sessions, but it had to deal with the budget, obviously. All these dates were canceled, I believe, that they had posted.
That's what I understood.
Okay. But we weren't even asked to go to these, or told about them to go, were we?
The original, we got invited.
Yeah, everyone got invites to them online. You got calendar
We got a
invites.
calendar invite from Austin.
Correct.
And
But
then
not
candy.
And there was
truly,
like,
but not truly an invitation.
right. It was a
electronic.
calendar invite, we all got it, and it was like 10 of them in a row, Tommy,
Yeah.
and I asked them.
At some point, there would have had to have been a discussion about how do we handle the fact that if we all show up, we gotta have
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
an open meeting. and-
Well, it's similar to the way we did it last time. We would have said, these 3 people go to this one, or who are, sorry, it would have been, who can go to this one, who can go to this one, and we try to limit it to 3 people.
Or
Or
post
you
it
just
as a
post
meeting.
it.
Yeah,
When the
it's
selectmen
fine.
go to that meeting, what do they do?
Post it.
Yeah, we could have, yeah.
Friday
like-
morning, there was 4 selectmen there.
Yeah, they posted
Yeah,
it.
they
Okay,
posted
that's
it.
what I'm saying, so.
So
I'm
But
just saying,
but they're doing it again, to add on to what you just said. They just did it Friday morning, and they're doing it again, and we didn't get invited.
correct, but we were at that one Friday morning, and you said May 4th.
To be
I
fair, I
did.
didn't figure out about it
Well, I haven't
until
done
Thursday.
Well, I'm just registering,
Did you
that I
guys-
think it's kinda not too good that we aren't told about it or said to have somebody
I
there.
said
I'd
that,
like this-
why are we not invited? I asked the
like this
question.
have that
Transparency
said
only
to-
goes one way.
Yes, but I asked, so for the record, I asked why we were invited, I did not get any answer as to.
So I'm asking you, and if everybody's agreed, we should make a formal, request to them why that happened.
I would second that.
Any discussion?
Do I have to make that some motion, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a motion, and, Dan seconded.
Who is they?
The
Select board.
selectmen.
The select board.
I
Well, and the town
honestly,
administrator.
actually, to be fair, I do not know who sponsored either
It
of
was the
these
select
two.
board that asked for those.
Was it the select board? Okay.
It came from Austin.
It was at the select board meeting when that was discussed.
Okay, so it was the select
That
board,
was the
so
meeting.
it would be to the select board.
So the meeting at the info session at the senior
Yep.
center, why
And
weren't
then
we
the second one,
invited?
why were
Or-
we then, should,
Yeah.
can we be invited officially to the May 4th one?
Yeah, and we should say, in the last few meetings, budget, we were never entered into the discussion. We would like to formally request that any financial meetings, we should be informed. However you wanna write it, you know what the gist is.
Make it pretty, Lynn.
I'll do my best.
I don't know why they wouldn't invite us.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's oversight or she's busy or whatever's going on, but that's wrong. Okay,
Yep.
anything else, Tom?
Oh, we have to vote on that, right?
Yes.
Right.
Any other discussion on that? All those in favor of the motion, to be included in the budget information sessions?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
In any future, any, whatever.
So we should post on Sunday in case there's more that come. So put that
Just
in your
in
phone.
case.
Yeah, just in case there's more of us. I'm not able to make it.
Is that May 4th, I said?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be here either.
I don't think.
I'm not coming home early. I don't care that much.
I don't know. It sounds like we might not have to post. I might go.
It doesn't hurt to
What-
post.
The May 4th thing, what's the date? I mean, you said it was here at the library, and what time?
One to three.
1 to 3.
Oh, they said 1, 2, 3.
Right down the
1,
middle.
2, 3.
One
1, 2,
until
3, May 4th.
One until three.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
No.
No, we have minutes.
No,
we're
have to
doing
vote
Oh,
on
minutes, oh, sorry, you guys killed me.
Can I get a motion on the minutes from April 17th?
So moved.
I'm gonna abstain, because I wasn't here for the whole thing, I was,
And didn't you find some mistakes in it?
It doesn't say anything about, us approving the minutes from April 9th and 10th meetings.
we did that first.
We did, no.
No,
we
we
did
did
it
it
last.
We did it.
Oh, I was there for it, so it was either
Yes,
first or
it was
last.
the end.
It was after the select board adjourned. Okay, so we need those.
So who made the motion, you?
No, I did not.
So we didn't have a
Who made the
second
motion?
Which one?
to approve the minutes.
I think
I
he
did.
made it, and then who
Pete
seconded
made
it?
it,
No one
No one
seconded
did.
it.
no one seconded it. Okay, can I, I'll second.
Second.
Oh, okay.
Aaron?
So we need a correction on the, meeting minutes approval of the 9th and 10th of April. Any other changes, adjustments, discussion? All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from April 17th with the changes to adding the approval of the meeting minutes from April 9th and 10th?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm awake.